And now it's that time of a Wednesday morning on Nationwide This Morning for all things real estate. This morning we're focusing on development and development requirements. And my guest today is the Chief Operations Officer at the Real Estate Board with a very unique first name, Cresfroid Brown. Got it correct?
Correct, madam.
Good morning to you. How are you?
I'm doing quite fine.
Yeah, you're doing good. Good. So this morning we're focusing on Cresfroid development and development requirements. First of all, who and what kind of developments must be registered with the board?
So all developments in excess of 5 lots or 5 units which are subject of disposal are required to be registered with the real estate board. So once it's an apartment, subdivision, individual units, you are required to register. All of those developments which are subject under the Housing Act are exempted from registration, and those by disposal of will.
So those are the ones that are required to register. And what do they need to register?
They will need to complete an application form, pay the prescribed fees. The application fees within a tier group system. So the application fee can vary from 88,000, 121,000, or 165,000 based on the tier. 6 to 20 is the first tier, 21 to 40 is the second tier, and 41 and over is the third tier, and a development fee of 7,000 per lot or unit. You will also need to provide police and bankruptcy checks for the parties involved. So if it's an individual, we need for the individuals. If it's a company, we will need information for the directors of the company. We also need the approval documents from the municipal corporation. So if it's a development apartment, we will need the building approval. If it is one that has the environmental permit issued by NEPA, we need those information also. All right, and a copy of the title.
So I'd want to ask, the application process, based on all that you're asking me for, do people consider it to be intense and quite demanding, or they get through the process pretty quickly?
It's fairly quick. It's normally within a turnaround period of 30 days. We
Okay,
require,
that's not so bad.
and it's something that has to be determined by the board of directors of the real estate board. We have been established from 1987, and we are facilitators of developers. But at the same time, we ensure that they are compliant with certain provisions of the Act.
Yeah. And how can a member of the public know if the development he or she is interested in purchasing is registered?
All right, we have a register of developers on our website. So you go to our website at www.reb.gov.jm. You go to member search, and you can search for development by name of the developer or by location. Just as simple as that.
Yeah. So tell us the website again.
www.reb, B as in board, .gov.jm.
Yeah. So when I access the website now, what sort of heading am I looking for to directly find the number of developments or the developments that are registered?
Oh, in a typical year, we have over 100 developments registered now. So once you search, you can call our customer service department, or if you go to our website, look for member search. It's within the top bar of our website. You can look for it, the information there, and you'll find information with any developer who is actually registered.
Yeah.
There are some developers who are registered fully so that they can enter contracts with purchasers and advertise for sale, while some are registered with conditions. So if there are conditions, those conditions would have to be satisfied before they can go to the market.
Yeah.
All right?
So no, those are the basics, Cresford. But what about a prepayment contract?
So
I mentioned that just before we came on air. Can you explain that?
So these are instances where a purchaser would pay down a deposit or a payment on any lot or unit within a development prior to the scheme being completed. So what happens is that payment, once paid to the developer, should be placed in a trust account. So those funds can only be utilized to pay for stamp duty, transfer tax, can be used for reimbursement of works done or material already supplied. But there are certain prescribed ways in which those funds can be used. It's acted in a very transparent manner, where the developer only can use the money within the development and for no other purpose until the scheme is complete.
Is there a certain amount that you have to pay in a prepayment contract?
These vary, because the terms of the contract, some contract may determine that the person would have to pay a deposit of 5% or 10%. So it varies from contract to contract.
And you just mentioned, but I'll skew the question a bit more, how this protects the purchaser's interest.
All right. So once the developer is registered and able to enter prepayment contracts, then those funds which are collected from the developer are placed in that account, trust account, in the name of the developer. That account is maintained by the developer, but it's in the same breath, there are certain reporting requirements to the board from the developer. So the developer would have to report on each instance monies are collected, and the board would monitor how those funds are used. While we monitor those accounts, in the event that something should go wrong in the development, then the board can step in, whether to take over the account, declare the scheme fail. So at times we'd have to dispose of the property if we have a mortgage on the title where the funds are being used. So there are various measures in place to allow for protection of the purchaser's interests, and that's where the board comes in relation to developments.
This sounds like a lot of work, Mr. Brown. How do you get it done? As a real estate board, every year, hundreds of properties, get all this work done.
We have a very hard-working team. We have a number of inspectors who would go out and monitor these developments from start to completion. But we more monitor in terms of how the funds are used. It's a very strenuous job, but it's a job that we welcome and ensure that purchasers, at the end of the day, is satisfied and protected, that their investment is in capable hands.
Yeah. And mentioning satisfaction, what can I do or how can the board assist if I have an issue with a developer, for example, if I'm not getting my unit within the agreed free time?
Well, there's a complaints department that you can lodge a complaint.
Okay.
All right. And that complaint, there are various occasions where schemes are delayed for various reasons. The developer has an obligation under the Code of Ethics to inform the purchaser in writing of any delays, including the board. So at times, just the other day we had COVID, there were some delays in certain development projects in terms of funding. The developer has an obligation to inform the public, the purchasers and any affected party as to the delays and a revised completion date for the project.
Yeah. Do you find that you get a lot of complaints from persons?
Yes, but most of the complaints vary in relation to completion, defects, and one would say quality of work. Those are the nature of the issues that may come from time to time.
Yeah. And how timely are these addressed? I come to you and I say, listen, Mr. Brown, I got my unit and the ceiling looks funny. I'm seeing cracks here and there and all of that. That's my complaint. What's the time frame on which my complaint is addressed?
Well, we will normally respond within 2 to 5 days, acknowledging the complaint, or investigators will start investigation to see what issues are. But bear in mind, I would always advise clients that ensure that they have an airtight contract in any purchase of any property. Because the contracts from time to time would have a defects liability period. And this offers a form of protection where if those defects are certified by an architect, then the developer, once notified an architect certified that it's actually a defect, they have within a particular time frame in which to correct those defects. So it's always key to note that get an attorney who can go through the contract to ensure that there are certain provisions and conditions in the contract to protect your interests.
Have you seen instances where that was not the case? They didn't really have those things properly set down in their contracts? And how did the real estate board deal with that?
All right. It varies because in some instances, some developers may choose not to sell the property prior to the scheme being complete, while some developers will do pre-sales. In instances, sometimes when there are no pre-sales and the purchaser would buy the unit as is, then the contract may not be so detailed to take in account certain issues that may arise. And that's why it's always good to get an airtight contract to know exactly. The buyer must be aware of whatever they are buying to. So at the times, depending on the nature of the issue, we would call in the developer, see what the issues are, because sometimes matters which are brought to the fore to be defects may not actually be defects. These defects has to be certified by an architect. You understand? So in instances where these are certified, it's something that's easily fixed. But where we're not able to certify those defects, then we would have to see what issues are that which have attributed to the particular issue arising. The issue could arise as a result of the purchaser not doing something that they're supposed to do. It could be that they may be drilling a wall to install a grill and may have caused damage to the unit. But in instances where these are not issues and the defects can be certified, then it's something that the board can assist with the developer to ensure it is done.
Now, Mr. Brown, for those persons listening, they may have a complaint, or it is that they're just seeking some more information. How can they reach out to the real estate board? Your contact information, are you on socials? Well,
contact information 926-974-829, 312-8971, 391-9937. You may also visit us at 24 Trafalgar Road, Kingston. And that's two buildings up from the British High Commission. We are also on various social media platforms, Instagram and also YouTube.
Oh, you're on YouTube as well?
Yes. So we have videos in relation to certain aspects of development, certain things that persons need to be aware of.
Yeah.
For both practitioners, persons wanting to become developers, and things that persons should be aware of.
And your YouTube channel, the name of it is Real Estate Board?
Yes.
Okay. Easy to find. So you got the contact information, listeners. You know where they're located. They're also on YouTube and socials. If it is that you don't really need to visit them, but you want to hop onto their YouTube channel, watch the videos, learn a bit more about the developments and the requirements and all that before you enter into any sort of arrangements or go about your development. But before we let you go, Mr. Brown, if you could summarize this morning all the things about development and development requirements that people need to know, not in the details, but a summary, what would you say?
So, real estate is an investment. We always want to ensure that both the practitioners, that's the developers, and those who are selling these properties abide by the law. Where you plan to carry out a development or intend to procure for any professional services for development to be drawn to submit to the council, kind of consult the real estate board. These are for developments in excess of 5 lots or 5 units. And before you advertise for sale, enter prepayment contracts, or commence work on these projects, ensure that you are registered. Not only developments over 5 lots or 5 units, but there are instances where persons may do 5 or less on a continuous basis. So the ones which are continuous over a 24-month period, then those second and third developments for 5 or less would have to be registered. We also ask purchasers to ensure that they check with the real estate board register that these developments are actually approved by the board so that they can enter contracts with these developers or not. Because we offer greater protection where the scheme is registered. Where it's not registered, the board would have to take certain actions through the courts and other agencies.
Yeah.
To prosecute where possible.
Process is more difficult.
Yes.
Right. So, Cresfroid Brown, who is the Chief Operations Officer at the Real Estate Board, telling us this morning about developments and development requirements in all things real estate.